Job, guys. This was a great show. I like to try to do a little bit of summarizing here, as I always try. I wrote a few notes as we talked. In hearing about progress, my takeaways were number one, the cyber sprint was an enabler, threw a lot of momentum in there and really got things moving. A lot in the authentication and privilege with the two-factor authentication issues and trusted identities. I heard on progress, too, that industry playing a major role in leading some of these frameworks and some of the work going on at NIST, which I think is a real good thing, too, for programs in general. And when we got into some specifics on that, specific programs, we heard about NSTIC and what they're doing. PKI, and in particular the DS logon that the Colonel brought up. It's specific single sign-on seemed to be a winner in terms of everyone talking about how important that is and making the user acceptance issue come about. And we threw CDM in there since it is a big program that's getting attention right across government. It is something that, a specific program that's really making a difference today. When we talk lessons learned, we talked about coordination with authorities, and it's not just about an individual sitting in there coming up with ideas, but it requires collaboration with the various authorities across the organization. We talked just about the scope of the identity issue and the lessons learned, that it's not at all a simple issue. There's a tremendous amount of scope, a tremendous amount of complexity that needs to be dealt with. We talked about metrics. I believe it was Tom brought up the idea that lessons learned, that if you have some metrics where you can actually show progress, you're more likely to get management attention and management involvement and get some momentum in the organization because you're actually showing progress along the way. We talked about the lesson about tying identity to cybersecurity, about how that helped a lot in terms of turning it more into a risk issue in agencies. And we heard about identity as a service. I think it was Paul elaborated on how important identity as a service could become in the future as we move on. And then something that really resonated with me was that tie to mission. It's not just about, an identity management. It says, how can we use this to improve our overall mission and make it an integral part of the mission? Challenges, speed of implementation was talked about. We talked about liability and branding. We talked about governance. There's governance issues here to keep these programs managed into the future. We talked about complexity coming with the Internet of Things, and we talked about the complexity coming with mobility. And we talked about the kids coming into the workforce in the future and what their expectations are going to be. The future, we talked about seeing NSTIC actually be implemented. We talked about, again, the Internet of Things and some of the challenges that it will bring along. Password Plus sounds like something new. It almost sounds like, okay, you can have password or password. It's almost like you get on an airline, you can upgrade the seat, go with the Password Plus. We talked about new context models, which I thought was very, very interesting as a new way of thinking about this. And the need for research, and Tom mentioned how combining with science and technology and looking to the future on this. And to me, the big thing is tying it to mission.